I mean, everybody likes a privilege. Like, you know what I mean? If you're like the older sibling of a group of children, and let's say you're able to stay out later than your brothers and sisters because you're older, you're privileged for that. You know what I mean? So, per se. So, it's just, I mean, I think privilege, the word privilege, it kind of inspires this happiness, or this, you know, it may even be some kind of biological or chemical, I'm sure it is, you know, related to serotonin or something like that, that makes you feel like, you know, some kind of happy way or something of that nature. But it's just like, you know, privilege itself, the word is, you know, indicative of the fact that there's going to be an exclusion. Because again, I mean, I always bring it back to, you know, those two polars, like those two polar opposites. You know, you can have exclusion and inclusion. And in that line of thinking, it's just kind of like, okay, well, that could be looked at as an exclusive way of thinking. It could be looked at as an exclusive way of thinking, although there are layers to life. So at times you may need to be exclusive, and at times you may need to be overall inclusive, you know what I mean, globally. But I think that the deeper thing that is probably to pay attention to is that this is all psychological. You know, this is nothing that's really, you know, it's not really, it's tangible, but in a space, it's really not. This is all being created by things of the past, ideologies from slavery, ideologies from white supremacy, ideologies from all kinds of experiences that have, you know, come from people's minds, and they've bought into the physical reality. So it's just kind of like, when we think of the psychology about it, I mean, it's not even a real problem, but we have people that really feel strongly. So that's why I say it's really a time to go back inside and really look at yourself. Thank you. Like, go back inside and look at yourself and see, am I doing the right thing, per se? Like, does this feel right for me? You know, overriding all of the narratives, overriding all of the, you know, charges that make you feel like, oh, I don't like this, or I love this, or I don't, or I hate this. Just kind of go back inside and revisit yourself and see, am I really doing the right thing? Do I really feel good about this? Does this bring a good feeling to me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's all about feeling.
Of course, like, it's just crazy though, like how, like, you know, people will like accept something just because like they feel, you know, they're protected about it, or because they have an advantage, you know, like, I don't have to speak about that, I don't have to say anything about that, you know, and stuff like that, you know, and I think that's really wrong.
White silence equals violence. I heard, yeah,
you know, like,
that's dope.
So like the problem is like, you know what I mean, with those white brothers and sisters, you know what I mean, that's like not speaking up, or who's not taking actions, or who's like involved, like, you know, in doing like, you know, the injustice themselves.
Yes.
And so like, I mean, how a group of people will feel like they feel good, or, you know, because, you know what I mean, they feel good because they're in a position, you know what I mean? Like,
true. Well, like, we saw something earlier that said something about the whole, some pastor mentioned that what was a blessing for some, you know what I mean, it was considered, you know, to be the white blessing.
Because I think the other side of it is true with our nation's history. We understand the curse that was slavery, white people do, and we say that was bad, but we miss the blessing of slavery, that it actually built up the framework for the world that white people live in and lived in. And so a lot of people call this white privilege, and when you say those two words, it just is like a fuse goes off for a lot of white people, because they don't want somebody telling them to check their privilege. And so I know that you and I both have struggled in these days with, hey, if the phrase is the trip up, let's get over the phrase and let's get down to the heart.
Sure.
Let's get down to what then do you want to call it. And I think maybe a great thing for me is to call it white blessing, that I'm living in the blessing of the curse that happened generationally that allowed me to grow up in Atlanta. And you talk about being
Well, what's a blessing then? I would ask. What's a blessing? You know what I mean? Like, a blessing is something that, in my opinion, is something that's kind of unexpected. It may be deserved or it may not be deserved, but it's something that you get. You know what I mean? Just off of the strength.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like a blessing is something. Is it truly a blessing if somebody had to be, or something, if something else in return had to be put down to get that? So something had to be hurt, killed, maimed, shot, or whatever to kind of perpetuate your blessing. Is that really a blessing? Per se. I feel like a blessing is free of all of those things. You know what I mean? It has none of that charge. A blessing is a blessing. And I mean, I could get into the linguistics and semantics about the actual word blessing, but we won't do that in this video. That'll be another video. But just in the idea of what a blessing is. A blessing is something that you get unexpectedly from, time to time, where you may be not expecting it. But, I think overall it's just like, to understand, again, what the word is. It's supposed to be a positive, feel-good word. It's supposed to be a word on the upper part of the spectrum. So if we're looking at what a blessing is it really a blessing if something outside of yourself had to be killed per se, or destroyed, or torn down, or diminished, or demolished for you to enjoy your blessing? If everybody can't, and not saying that people can't be blessed individually, not saying that at all.
Yeah.
I get, certain timing. There's timing for everybody. Everybody's on their own timing, purposeful things. So I get that. However, I'm saying in general, a blessing, I wish good for all people, and I always wish for the highest good for all people involved, or all things involved. So it's just kind of like, would I consider that a blessing if somebody had to be killed for me to enjoy this blessing? For me to enjoy this luxury, somebody had to be beat, whack, snap, clap, whatever. Like, would that really be a blessing?
I mean, I just don't understand, like, where you coming from with all that crazy stuff.
I mean, I guess it's perspective. It's not my perspective, but it's a perspective, I'll say.
Even, like, I understand the idea on his head and stuff like that, but his understanding is totally wrong, because he used, like, what he do, he bases his blessing upon somebody else's struggle. Like, that's wrong. You cannot say, like, oh, my blessing is because, like, somebody else's curse is because it's my blessing. But if you look at it, those people that you call to be cursed is not cursed. You know what I'm saying? You killing those people.
Right. It's basically, a design by plan.
You doing human genocide.
Right.
You know
this is not a plan that just naturally happened. This is something that was deliberately decided, planned, written out, and carried out.
Like, that's exactly what happened. But for him to come out and say, oh, you know what I'm saying? It's like saying black struggle is right blessing.
Right,
I'm saying? Like,
right. And small disclaimer, I'm not sure. I didn't watch the entire video. I heard a snippet of it. It was a few minutes. So I'm not sure. I didn't watch the entire video, which I will go back and review the entire video so I can get a more accurate perspective. I don't know if he was saying, that may have been something that people enjoyed, but, could other people suffer from. I'm not sure what he was comparing it to, but I know the term itself is politically incorrect, and it's incorrect, period. It's just wrong. That's not, there's no blessing, I don't feel, in that thinking or perspective when we're talking about morality. We're not talking about man-made designs or something somebody thought up in their head. We're talking about morality and nature and natural being in its own essence. So, you know, I just don't, I don't think that that's something that, you know, I again, back to the word white privilege. It's just like, I just don't, you know, the idea of, you know, there being a privilege. And I think that nothing is wrong with the idea of a privilege, feeling like you're exceptional or you're unique. However, I think the whole idea of white privilege, not the wording again, but the idea of white privilege, of someone enjoying an entire lifestyle, your reality, your entire being, everything that you do, you're being able to benefit versus being pushed the other direction, pushed down, stopped, railroaded, blocked on, you know, advances that you may try to seek. You know, it's just the idea of it, which is why I think the whole idea of white silence equals violence bore. And I think that it's a necessity at this time. It is a necessity for people that don't look like us to speak out, because we're not the only ones that are involved in this world. In the reality we live in today, there are all kinds of people outside of just us. And, you know, a lot of people are intermingling these days. So, you know, it's just, there's a lot of perspectives to take into account. And the fact that it helps, I'll say that, it helps. And it helps tremendously for other people to recognize that we are not the only ones. We've said it a lot. We've continued to say it. We're going to continue to say it. And it's going to continue to make a difference. But it can definitely add a little momentum and acceleration to the fact when there are more people. You know, there's a majority. There's more people who are willing.
Yeah.
Not that they haven't always thought this, but, you know, are willing, have begun to take the action, take the stand to really express themselves and not just go for anything. Because I think we've done that for far too long. As a people, as a country, as just humanity in general. Just the go along thing that's done.
Yeah, man, that's why, like, sometimes I even questions like the segregation, the whole segregation thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder what if it would have been like, you know,
like Wall Street times 10.
Yeah, if we have our own state.
Wakanda!
You know, like, if I mean,
hey.
for example, look at it, man. Canada is in the border, you know, like, they had no problem. They still trade. They still, you know, intermingle with other people. Canadian come here, they go over there. Like, you know, it's, I mean, if segregation is not working how, you know, it's supposed to, what was the purpose of it? You know, like, if you look at it, you know what I'm saying? I understand, like, you know, segregation was something that could have moved us forward as a nation, you know, like as a people, like where everybody accept everybody for who they are.
But see, it's because it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. If that, see, I guess the idea is deeper than that. Segregation is just a word, okay? The idea of being separate is a whole totally different animal. That's something different. We're talking about a word that's been phrased to negate an opening. I'm sorry, not negate, to help perpetuate an opening, to help, you know, lead the way for an opening for people of all colors, all creeds to come together and congregate. However, it's just, that's not the case. Okay, like that, the ideology of it behind it is not, you know, people's minds have already been made up about certain things. So it's deeper than that. Somebody say, and I can't recall who said it or where I heard, America is the biggest mental asylum in the world.
I believe that.
I believe it as well. I believe it as well. There's a lot of psychological manipulation through the means that we have available here. One of the wealthiest countries here, you know what I mean? Here where America's one of the most wealthiest countries. We have one of the, I guess not one of the lowest literacy rates, but for the magnitude of this country, I would expect the literacy rate to be much higher. So it's just, you know, here we are. We're in this space, we're in this time, and there are things that have transpired and maybe should have transpired a long time ago, but nonetheless, maybe not. I believe in certain timing. Nothing happens when it's not supposed to happen. So we're here, we're now for a reason, for a purpose. And I don't think there's ever been a more probable time than now for people to really kind of identify and find the connections between us all, because we're not that much different.
No, not at all.
And the segregation again is deep rooted. Like, it's deep rooted. It goes back into an ideology of, you know, people thinking a certain particular way of either they're better or they're superior to another group of people, which is obviously not true. There is no superiority. So it's just kind of like, you know, when we talk about segregation, okay, or desegregation is really what it is. You know, desegregating. I'm speaking about desegregation. You're talking about segregating, but desegregation. Do I think that segregation could have even, you know, be, or even could in the future be a thing? I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like it takes everybody. I don't feel like segregating would be the right move. I think that there's power in that at a certain time, just like when we had Black Wall Street. And I agree with, I can't remember the young man who said this on Vlad's channel earlier, but it's like, you know, every time, okay, so if you don't want us here, why are we here? We can go and do our own thing. You know what I mean? We can build our own countries. We can build our own states. We can build our own everything and probably make it 10 times better. Not probably, but will. So it's just like, you know, we can build our own everything, own countries and own states, and make them 10 times better. Why every time that somebody, you know, we get the idea as a people or a collective consciousness to move forward with that idea, it's like the people who have oppressed us and keep us down, they're like, no, stay. Don't go. It's like, okay, because on a deeper level, they even understand. It's more to you than just, you know, this piece that you've tried to disconnect yourself from. It's everybody. There's more to the world. There's more to the globe. There's more to the universe. There's more to the galaxy. There's more than just you. So this idea that you've concocted in your mind and you've tried to, you know, spread through all space and time, it's a no blow. It doesn't hold up. It has no stability. It can only be sustainable for a short period of time, because again, once people start to realize and start to integrate and intermingle, that's dead. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's where we are now. We're at a point where that is a non-issue. There was a time when, yeah, we did have to kind of segregate and really get ourselves strong and be that stronghold. Yeah. But I feel like right now, that's also something we need to do. We need to reestablish, and I don't think that is anything wrong with power to the Black community bringing up, or the, you know, the community bringing up ideas or people or things that, you know, support the community. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I think that's a great idea. I think that's what a lot of other communities do. And I think that that's what people need to do to help sustain, you know, their personal culture or whatever they may hold dear to them. But I think that in, you know, a bigger picture is just kind of like, it's going to take more than just us, because it's more than just us here. So if we want to trade with other people, if we want to do business with other people, or if we want to, you know, even travel freely amongst the land, everybody should have a certain, you know,
respect.
Absolutely. Respect. Perfect word. Everybody should have a certain respect amongst one another to do that. It shouldn't be, you know, I am this, so you don't matter. Okay? I can do this to you. I can do that to you. I can kill you. I can rape you. I can steal you, kidnap you, sell you, and, you know, nothing really happens. You know what I mean? That's just not, it's not morally correct. You know, forget lawfully correct, you know, it's illegal, obviously, but it's just morally, that's not. And I feel like America as a whole, our collective consciousness as people, Black, white, Chinese, Asian, Hispanic, it doesn't matter what ethnic descent that you want to say you're from, because at the beginning of time we were all one. So it's just wherever you're from, wherever you are right now in this space and time, you know, there's no exclusion. We are all one people. So to try to come and say you can only build, you're only gonna get so far. Okay, if you took every Black person in the world and said we're gonna do this, and every Black person said, yeah, let's do it, what about everybody else? There's like a whole another half of the majority of other people in the world. We need to work together.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be any separatism. That's my thing. There's a spirit of inclusion and there's a spirit of exclusion. And now is the time to include. Now is the time to really, come together to recognize our similarities and not come together to count out our differences. We are all different and unique in our own way. We're going to be our own people. There's no need to try to come and conform and colonize. There's no need for that. We're going to be our own people. You did what I'm saying? Like, it's no need to do that. But just the common respect. It's a common respect that needs to be had. And I think people need to look inside to find it.
Yeah, you're right. And it is one question, though. Like, I always try to, ask myself, if I ask white America how they feel like, because I always heard this is a Christian nation, a Christian country. What happened to, that shall love your neighbor how you love yourself? You should love your neighbor the same way you love yourself. Sure. What about that?
Absolutely.
How the outside world look at America? How you treat the people that within your own community.
And help build this community. Help build every community, pretty much.
What's going on?
The backbone of America.
I just don't understand. What's going on with people for Fourth Amendment? How somebody can just violate you, just because they feel like you're probably incapable of knowing the things that they have right to. You know what I'm saying? You have right to say, man, I don't want to talk to you.
Just completely violate that. Well, that's the time that we live in, and words and spells are powerful. And just like we learn spelling in elementary school, we send our kids to learn and different things like that. It's just how we learn. I learned myself how to spell. I was actually a spelling bee champ. I was pretty good at it. So, I'm just to put that out there. But, words can be hypnotizing. And I think a lot of people get lost in the words and the imagery on what they see and what's been directed. And they don't realize how much their lives are being influenced by the images that they're being shown on different avenues and different channels that they're exposed to throughout the day. And it's very, very unintrusive. You kind of engage in it on your own. You come home and you turn on your own TV, unless you guys have some kind of super, super smart Siri TV where you come in and Siri says, "Hello, Tom, welcome home." You know what I mean? You come home, you initiate everything you do. You get on your own phone and go to social media. You do all of these things. We have to be more conscious for ourselves, okay? Nobody else can be conscious for you. That's a self thing. That's something you have to do on your own. That's nothing that anybody else or no amount of government, no amount of people, no amount of persuasion is going to make you do. That's a self thing. And I think that the only thing that's going to heal America at this time is going to be self-introspection, going back inside for each and every person. Doesn't matter who you are, what you believe in, but just going back inside and really understanding what the morality of all of this is. What is morally correct? Okay? What's morally correct? What's morally just? What is justice? And understand that. And once we can go inside of our collective consciousness and change that, everything else will change. And I think that, quite frankly, we've already got the ball rolling.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are going on right now, in the world to help keep that momentum. So thankful, but, definitely after all of, the riots and all of the tension dies down, what then? We definitely need to still organize and make some moves. We definitely need to be on move making. That's the next step. There's action to be done. There's not just to be talking and chattering and, there's things to be done. And talking and chattering helps as well, though. Not to say that that's not, something that's necessary. It's definitely something that's necessary. But there are bigger things to be done. And I think, we've already started that. We're here. We're here. This is happening. It's happening now. You know what I mean? Even with the white supremacy themes, as far as the looting and the rioting, it's I saw several outlets that reported on white supremacists being at a lot of these events.
Yeah.
and being kind of spearheading, being the head and spearheading some of these things. So this is not just, people being angry and people tearing things down. This is really, it's a lot more complex than that. There are a lot of working pieces to this thing. And I think we just need to pay attention as a people, as a collective, as a humanity. We need to pay attention, and we need to dig within ourselves to be guided by our moral compass. Now is the time to be guided by our moral compasses, not to be swayed by things we see on TV or hear on the radio or hear from somebody down the street or whatever. Now is the time to really go inside and really comprehend what's going on, how we feel about it, and what we need to do. So, you know what I mean? This is not a loss, you know what I mean? I think maybe some people see the privilege as being a loss. It's not a loss if it was never really a privilege to begin with. If something hurt somebody else, was it really a privilege?
Yeah, man. It's just crazy though. Like me as a black man, like living everyday life, knowing that you could just get stopped by a policeman, you're gone. We learn growing up as kids, like the police supposed to be here to protect us, to help us, you know what I'm saying, not killing us. Knowing that at this day and age, 2020, we still getting manhunt by the police. It's not, the 15th, 17th centuries, it's not that times. It's times
same things are happening.
I thought people would have been more knowledgeable or more, understanding or, have more morals.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
It's not just because you have a badge, you carry a badge, you think that you have the right to shoot me or step on me or something like that. You feel me? People don't understand, just how you, I don't care what kind of police officer or that is or whoever, you know what I mean? You have to have better training how to deal with people, because you're not dealing with animals. We're not animals. We human beings just like you. You know what I'm saying? If
Absolutely.
You come talk to me, we talking and stuff like that, there's something to handle here, not, because you have the gun, you feel like you have more authority than me, because you have no authority over me.
And when he's off duty, he can't pull you over.
It doesn't matter if he's off duty.
Well, he can't pull you over though. That's the point. You're a civilian just like me. So there is no accountability.
It's just crazy, to me it's just not fair. You're living in a country, you doing your all, you paying your taxes, you helping the economy as well, but the people that's supposed to serve and protect, those are the ones that's taking the lives, come on, you're supposed, if you got a 911 call, you're supposed to come to help, not kill, but that's what we're seeing most of the time, I would say 7 out of 10 stop, there's a killing, people unarmed, that's not how society is supposed to be, especially if you're in a society where people is not even speaking out, and I give respect to those that do, kudos to those that do, and those people that don't need to start talking, start saying, because we are the people, we are the voice. If we say this
we
gonna
have
stop,
the power.
if all of us say this need to stop, that's what's gonna stop.
It's done.
So I just wondering why certain people feel like I should just be quiet,
Well, because they enjoy the privilege. That's why. Because it's okay, well, I'm taking advantage of this. This is not harming me. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's okay, I'm getting the better hand of this. What happens when I don't get the better hand? Now I might not get it at all. You know what I mean? Or it might be more difficult, or there's more people. See, and that's another American theology of there's crabs in a bucket kind of thing. There's not enough space for us all. Somebody, it's this hierarchy kind of pyramid scheme type of thing. Look, whatever you will to do in this world, you will do.
Yeah.
Okay, that just be honest with that. Like there's whatever you will to do, whatever you use your willpower to do, you will achieve.
Oh, 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 oh. White blessing. Ah!
White blessing. Miss, we understand the curse that was slavery. White people do. And we say that was bad. But we miss the blessing of slavery.
Come on.
That it actually
Anybody else thankful for
the
slavery?
framework for
Come
the
on.
world that
Anybody know
white
anything
people
about
live
white
in.
blessing?
Yes.
Come on, can you
Again.
just lift your hand?